but they did it. Yay! So good job. Thank you again for being here, all of you wonderful contributors that contribute towards especially to Joe and Suzanne. Where are you? There they are now. They are the people who sponsored us so that we can have this event here at the Yacht Club. So thank you. I also want to thank the Port Townsend foundry who made the bench. It took a long time, but they did it. Yay! So good job. And also I want to thank our liaison person, Mike Rustin. His name is Matt Sear, and he was the person that we went to whenever we had questions, and so I talked to him a lot. And thanks to Matt Sear and Mike Rustin for letting us use that spot for our bench, basically. And even though she's already gone, I want to say thank you to Candy, my granddaughter, that she worked on the map for me that I put on with the directions of how to get here. Mine was kind of, readable, so it's really not what you have to do, so I'm sorry, but I thank her anyway. And the first thing I want to do, unless I forgot things to let me, if I did, I'm sorry, thank you. I really want to thank my fellow Greater Tacoma Peace Prize board members, several of whom are here, and the two who helped with refreshment. Carol Snyder is here, wave, and Lisa Otteson. She's a board member, even though she lives in Grants Pass, Oregon, and she and Carol did that. And while I'm at it, I'm thank Lisa for the beautiful flowers she provided for us. So, and Lisa, wherever you are. Okay. But also, I want to thank our current Greater Tacoma Peace Prize laureate for being here. Now, this person is probably the longest serving laureate in the history of the Tacoma Peace Prize. She was the 2020 Peace Prize laureate and the 2021 Peace Prize laureate, Marilyn Kimberly. And that reminds me to tell you, please send us your nominations for this year's laureate, because nominations close on March 31st. So, I can't get it yet. We're hoping to have a banquet in September for both Marilyn and her successor, and then we're going to send them both to Norway in December for the Nobel Peace Prize festivities. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I was going to make a pitch for money, but never mind. Okay. We also have some other laureates here, past laureates. And if you were here, Sally Shaw, are you still here? Sally was our 2013 laureate, and then we have Teresa Pan Huxley, Lisa, and she was 2016, and Penny Nixon in the back. So I hope we'll do the same thing this fall. I want to just say just a few things about Bill. Bill was our 2006 Greater Tacoma Prize laureate, in case you didn't know that. And even though I met him then in 2006, it took him 6 more years to ask me out. So, yeah, we started dating in 2012. And I won't tell you the whole story, but he also became a member of our board on Greater Tacoma Peace Prize in 2015. And for me, losing him was losing just my best confidant, advisor, smart guy, the one who knew everything. If I wanted to know who this political person was or that person over there, he knew. I didn't have to even research it. You could tell him everything. He knew. Let's see. Well, he knew Jimmy Carter. He had been appointed by Jimmy Carter to be on the commission which started the Peace Institute in Washington, D.C. Anyway, it's not about who he knew, it's about who he was. So he would say, let's have a chat. Let's sit down and talk. It's kind of like what Nelson Mandela said. Nelson Mandela said the best weapon is to sit down and talk. So Bill kind of took off on that. And there was one time though I have to tell you, it was not very long after we started going out together. He called me up and he said, do you think you could come over here? I think we should have a chat. And I just say, what? To me, whoa, that sounded really serious. He wants to chat. So I got over to his house and I walked in the door and I sat down at the table, kind of wondering what was going to happen. I said, so what did you want to talk about? And he said, oh, what do we have for dinner? That he had absolutely nothing important to talk about. Well, it was being released, but it was kind of interesting. So he loves Tacoma. He loved walking along Ruston Way, even before all the Point Ruston things were there. And he and I would go on drives, and he would take other people on drives. Anybody who came to visit him in Tacoma had to go on a drive and visit the rest of Tacoma and see all the progress that Tacoma had made over the years since he had moved here. And that was about 40 years ago, more maybe. I can never remember exactly what year he moved here. But the Water Walk, the Silver Cloud Hotel, everything, he didn't see it finished. But every time we walked by it or drove by it, he would point up and say, look, it's going to have a swimming pool right there at the top. He never went to swim, too bad. There was a person in one of his students, it's a former student, his name is Colin Boyden, and he wrote a little remembrance of Bill for the Federal Executive Institute alumni newsletter. because Bill taught at the Federal Executive Institute. He taught their LDS program, and no, not the Latter-day Saints, and the leadership development, okay? And here's what Colin said in his remembrance. I mean, I won't read the whole thing, because then you'd get mad. He said, Bill Lincoln often found himself an interesting footnote to some of the world's most significant conflicts. And many of you probably didn't know that. And he probably liked it that way, that he was a footnote. His first lesson to potential mediators was, quote, don't make it about you. And that goes right along with what the most important thing that I can remember that I learned from him. I took one of his courses that he had at our church, St. Mark's Lutheran. The most important thing that it just impressed me was that the person across from you at the negotiating table is your partner. And that's the one that really kind of surprised me, because if you're sitting with somebody who's supposedly your enemy, and that person also your partner, and they are. So, Colin, the guy who wrote about Bill, he said that at FEI, at the Federal Executive Institute, we all wanted to be there with Bill, ready to go where he intended to take us. And I imagine it was a common feeling in the far-flung places and familiar cities where Bill left his mark. He will be deeply missed by everyone who knew him and had the pleasure to learn from him, no matter what side of the table you're on. So that's like my favorite. So thank you for being here to honor him. And now I'm going to call on one of his children, Chrissy, to come and say a few words about him, and we'll move on with that. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure and obviously an honor to be here with our dad. Glad I'm here with my siblings, Josh and Holly, and my cousin George, the Lincoln representatives of the family. I really don't know what to say except for thank you for this honor and for our dad, Janet. None of this would have came to fruition if it wasn't for your hard work and all of your phone calls and letters and just your perseverance to make it go through. So thank you for that. I don't know, lastly, I'd like just to say that the bench is beautiful. We already sat and looked at it. It was great. We had our little family moment on it. And something we can come back and visit when we want to represent to see our dad. Just thank you. I really can't say much more than that. You all know Dad. You know what he was to us. Like if you knew him, and he spoke about all of us. Then you know we've heard all the stories of all of us. So I really don't have much more to say than that, except for thank you for loving him almost as much as we do. That's it. Thank you.
Bill had a lot of friends. One of the persons who spoke at his memorial service, Bruce, he said, everybody tells you that you were Bill Lincoln's best friend. Everybody was Bill's best friend. So today we have one best friend to come and talk about Bill with us, and that is Bob Berry. Where are you, Bob? Right over there.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me without the microphone?
Yes.
Okay. We will use it then. I want to first thank all of you for being here. For those of you who contributed to the ditch, thank you. And special thanks to Janet for coordinating and successfully carrying out the campaign to have the bench installed. My guests have people in our lives that are important, if not critical, that we only have one opportunity to ever meet. Somehow or other, the fates only allow us that one chance. I have two such people in my life. One is my wife, Nancy. The other person is Bill Lincoln. On a return flight from DC one Friday evening, we sat next to each other on a plane. We exchanged pleasantries, and we didn't speak the rest of the flight until we were on approach to CPAC, at which time we somehow or other started a bit of a conversation. And as Bill was wont to do, he had an incredible ability to identify and meet allies, comrades, and potential friends. And that moment I was blessed to have that opportunity. As we left the airplane, we exchanged cards. I never thought I would hear from him. I never thought I would ever see him again. But as Bill is wont to do, within a month he contacted me and said, Bob, do you remember me? I did not. He said, it was about a month ago or so, and we were on an airplane, and I told you I would give you a call. We shared some of the same, in a general sense, the same work that he was doing. I was on the periphery of that, although I had never done conflict resolution work. We set up a meeting, and we had lunch together. As with everyone in this room who has ever met Bill, I was impressed. I was impressed with his openness, with his candor, and with his spirit. Bill had a remarkable way of speaking to people's hearts. And my guess in this room, every one of you who knew Bill would have a story that spoke to that. As a result of that meeting, he invited me to come meet some of the other people he was working with and to actually do his training program, which I did. And I was even more impressed. Over the next several years, I had the opportunity to work with Bill. I traveled with Bill extensively over the years. One of the funniest stories I have about Bill the time we were coming back from Sudan. We were flying through Frankfurt. And it had been a long 2 weeks in Sudan. And for those of you who have worked in Africa, you're aware that the accommodations are not necessarily 5-star. And Bill was tired. It had been a strenuous trip for him. We came through Cairo and landed in Frankfurt. And at that point, we had a very short layover, and Bill wasn't walking very well. So I found one of those luggage carrier things, and he was game to hop up on that, and I pushed him all the way to the Frankfurt airport. And it was one of my fondest memories. He had such a joy of being alive, but also a joy of being the center of attention. Bill loved an audience, probably as much as anyone I've ever worked with. There's many other times that I was with Bill. One of the pictures that I really wish was up here with Bill during the memorial service and also today is a picture of Bill standing at a place that we stayed at in Kabul. And it was a peaceful time in Kabul while we were there at that time. And there was a guard, and the guards always had guns. And I've got some pictures of Bill holding an AK-47 at the gate with the guard. I wish I had known that I could have got that to you. It is classic Bill, a big smile on his face, just a willingness to participate wherever he had the chance. As I worked with Bill over the years, one of the things that he was most noted for was interest-based negotiations, mediations. Interests are those things that are very important to us. In fact, they're the most important things. I actually prefer to call them values. Bill had a remarkable ability to identify and to elicit other people's values. And in his work, the sequence of the work was to elicit, clarify, and then to satisfy to the best of his or the organization's ability all the people's values at the table. I got to a point where I started, well, I don't know, probably right from the beginning. I began to observe Bill and think about what are Bill's values? What are Bill's interests? And clearly, as with all of us, he had a multiplicity of values. But I finally boiled Bill down, at least in my mind, to 3 primary values that he held, he displayed, and he elicited from others. Bill was the most loyal person that I've ever known. Loyalty was, from my perspective, one of his greatest values. Secondly, generosity. Anybody that knew Bill for any length of time received a gift from him. I remembered every year I would get the little day planners from him. And in the years where we were working together, it was a great reminder to remember Bill. His generosity was limitless. His third value that I would include was perseverance. Several people spoke at the memorial service about Bill's work ethic. He never stopped working. I remember nights, I remember one night fairly clearly in July. It was 120 degrees plus outside. And Bill spent the evening doing something from another project that we weren't even working on. For those of you who had the opportunity to work with Bill as a practitioner, you're well aware of the skills he brought to the table. He had an incredible ability to listen. But not just to listen, to actually hear what people were saying. And by listening and hearing, in order to incorporate solutions that satisfy their interests, at the same time, satisfying as best as possible the interest of all parties at the table. He was a remarkable practitioner. He was a remarkable human being. Today, and this week for me, is a remarkable confluence of energy and emotion. As I mentioned a minute ago, my wife and I, we celebrated our 49th anniversary. In the Jewish tradition, 49 is an important number. Because every 49 years is a Jubilee year. And Jubilee years were years of celebrating release and freedom from bondage, but also freedom from all the other bondage that we carry with us in life. The bondage of ill will, the bondage of death, the bondage of hatred. And when I reflected on that, I can only imagine that Bill would have told me, wow, suggest to all of you here, have a Jubilee year. Have a Jubilee year in which you forgive. And if possible, forgive the slights that have been levied against you, the insults. Move past the fears. Move into the hopes. My guess is that if Bill was here, that's what he would say. Live in your hopes, not in your fears. These days are also remarkable for other things. Today, because of our opportunity to gather to dedicate a physical space for our memories of Bill. I don't come to Rutland very much, but when I do, every time I'm going to come and sit on the bench. Something else happened this morning that some of you are well aware of, some of you haven't thought about yet today. At 8:33 this morning, we moved into spring. Today is the first day of spring. What an amazing day to celebrate Bill. All of you who knew him well knew that he had a very fondness for nature, as he did for life. He gardened. I never sat with him on the beach at Cape Cod, but he spoke so fondly of it. He spoke fondly of going back with his family and his children to sit on the beach, feel the salt air in his face, and remember his childhood and his many years on the Cape. And the last thing that makes this day so remarkable for me is that tomorrow is the first year anniversary of Bill's passing, of the last time we had an opportunity to say goodbye. I have a few things I would say to Bill if he was here. One is, I love you, Bill. I miss you, Bill. And I thank you, Bill. I thank you for not only including me in your life, but allowing me to include you in mine. As one of my favorite philosophers once said, Tom Robbins, all souls echo forever throughout the universe. I wish Bill a magical and marvelous trip. Until we meet again, Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. And we'll get to the cake chop. We're gonna have cake. Thank you. Thank you, because I was just about to tell you how much laughter Bill brought into my life. And one of the first times was at Bob Barry's house. He doesn't even remember this, but, and Bill, he was such a prude, it was very surprising that he would do this. But we were at Bob Barry's house, and as often happened, somebody asked him and me, well, how did you two meet? Some of you have already heard this. And Bill said, well, it was in church. And I said, wait, what? No, I mean, he did start coming to St. Mark's Lutheran Church, but so, yeah, I was in church. Yeah. Janet and I were at the communion rail, and Janet was kneeling right next to me. And she leaned over and whispered in my ear, I'm not wearing a bra. That's his humor. I'm not wearing a bra. Okay, whatever. We were with all these people I didn't know, never had met. One lady that was there said, oh, I want to go to that church. I laughed more in the 8 years that I knew Bill than all the rest of my life. Really. I miss that. I know there are other people, though, that would like to say a few words. And people who want cake. Did you notice one of the cakes says, let's have a chat? Yes. That one is carrot cake, which is one of Bill's favorites. And this one over here says, we can work it out. And that one's chocolate, another favorite. So we'll have one more person, and I'll stay here as long as you want. I love to hear stories about Bill, okay? But we'll serve the cake and then have some more after that. But be prepared, because we also have to sing the song, so don't leave until we've had the song, okay? So I know there's somebody who wants to say a few words here. Polly or Jim Merritt, maybe, or Pop, yes, come on.
Thank you, Janet. Just a few words about Bill. Clyde and I were next door neighbors with Bill for nearly 30 years. And after about the first decade or so, at first we talked a lot. And he was involved, obviously, in conflict resolution and lots of things, and a wide range around the world. And he shared a lot of that. So we talked at least weekly, if not more. And so one time, and this has been about 30 years ago now, heaven's sake, 1990, he asked if Claudia and I wanted to join him on one of his excursions. And it was to go to Russia and to help them find a new path. Because what was happening then, the Soviet Union was coming apart. And Yeltsin was kind of coming in, Gorbachev was out and all that. And it was like, my gosh, who wants to go with you? So Claudia and I spent most of a month with Bill in Russia. And Moscow, train ride over to Riga, actually, Elgava, a little community, and then over to St. Petersburg for the rest of that month. So I got to know Bill really well, and we've been close a lot of these years, all these years since, so it's really heartfelt that we really miss him. But I saw things during that month, because we had to meet with government officials, with some of those in industry in Russia. They were trying to figure out, and we got to the interpreter, we don't know what to do. We were making tanks and guns, and now we have all this capacity. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to do it. And Bill was so good. And he let me sit in there with him to listen to all this, to the interpreter. And it was so fascinating to see how he was working and to make a difference. I think he planted seeds to help them in lots of ways. Now, things may be sliding today in this age, but he helped. He helped the whole country in a way I think make a difference. One thing he kind of scared me one day over there. He brought out this card he had in his wallet. And he said, Jim, because he had heart trouble back then, 30 years ago. And he said, look at this card. If I pass out, you call and get me medevac to Helsinki immediately. So that was on me. So if he passed out, I had to figure out how to get him to Finland. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Bill. And so, but he shared those things with us. So it was quite an experience. We were close since then. And actually, in the last couple of years, as I wound down what I do, we talked about collaborating more, where I will be joining them, like you were mentioning there. And obviously it didn't happen. But we certainly had a bond that has been with me all these years. Thank you very much.
I'm sure that there are a zillion more stories that you could all tell. But, okay, I know I had something I was going to say now, I can't remember what it was. Oh, never mind. That happens not ever to any of you, right? It's not in my notes. Oh, now I remember. I was going to tell you that I used to teach school. I taught middle school. And so then I have this here with me, and I was going to take attendance. Never mind. Okay. But I think what we should do is go ahead and cut the cake, and I'll give you 5 minutes to go up there and get your piece of cake. And while you're at it, I brought along, there are about 40 copies of these, okay? This is Bill's training manual that he used at the Federal Executive Institute. I helped him lug these things to his car. I don't know how many times he would order them. They would come in these huge boxes. I think they weighed 50 pounds. Anyway, it's called In Pursuit of Promises, the Spirit and Skills of Negotiation. I know there are people who use it to this day. So I'll put it over on the table, this one, and when these are gone, then they're gone. So it's not enough for everybody, so You know, if you don't have one or you have a spouse, don't take one for both of you, okay? And we'll do that for about 10 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll sing a song and have that. Okay.